Welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a brilliant philosophical framework that actually solves that exhausting cycle of constantly trying to prove ourselves to others. I mean, we all know that feeling, right? That deep-seated urge to make sure everyone in the room, or let's be real, everyone on our social media and LinkedIn feeds knows exactly how smart, successful, or capable we are. But what if that exact urge is the very thing holding us back from true happiness? Today, we're dissecting the superfine line between healthy ambition and the kind of toxic pride that just slowly drains our joy.
We're pulling all of this straight from a book called Signposts to Happiness, specifically zooming in on Part 1, Chapter 2. This chapter explores the really fascinating tension between our natural ambition and our toxic desire for self-display. The author, Ryuho Okawa, lays out a remarkable perspective that completely reframes how we look at our own egos. This isn't just someone telling you to be humble. It's a structural breakdown of the human spirit, and it is totally game-changing.
Okay, let's just run through a quick roadmap of what we're covering today. 1. Pride versus self-display. 2. The truth behind ambition. 3. The risk of lacking harmony. And 4. The 3 Fuku framework.
All right, jumping right into Section 1, Pride versus Self-Display, setting the boundary.
So, first things first, we really need to draw a clear line in the sand here. Having justified pride that actually matches your effort, your current standing, and your hard work, is completely natural. In fact, it's necessary. It serves as a driving force to keep going. But when that pride starts to morph into this bloated, peacock-like need to force everyone else to validate you, that's when you cross a dangerous line into self-display. It turns into an absolute obsession with external evaluation, which ultimately just drags everyone down, and most of all, it drags you down.
And the source text really hits the nail on the head right here. It points out that when our pride gets bloated, it forces us to constantly evaluate if we're overestimating ourselves. When our pride exceeds our actual merit, it creates this endless, agonizing loop. You start policing how others see you, constantly wondering why they aren't giving you the respect you feel you deserve. And honestly, this isn't just annoying for the people around you, it literally drags you into an abyss of your own suffering.
But that brings up a really fascinating follow-up question. If this bloated desire to show off causes so much internal pain and external friction, is this impulse inside of us fundamentally evil? Should we be trying to just crush our ambition entirely?
Which leads us perfectly to Section 2, the truth behind ambition, rooted in nature. So to figure out if this urge is actually evil, we've got to look at where it comes from, and its root is surprisingly tied to the natural world. If you look around, from colorful, blooming flowers to animals competing for strength, we see an evolutionary principle at play. The source text beautifully compares human self-display to a flower trying to bloom brighter than the rest, or a bird showing off its feathers. This isn't malice, it's a foundational survival mechanism. It's literally just life trying to assert its own existence and vitality in a very crowded world.
The big takeaway here is that your desire for validation isn't actually evil at its core. It stems from a completely natural human drive to grow, improve, and expand your existence. You want to be better today than you were yesterday, and hey, you want the world to acknowledge that growth. That is the engine of human progress. The problem doesn't lie in the engine itself, but in how we're steering the vehicle.
Moving on to Section 3, the risk of lacking harmony, the danger of success.
But, and this is a big but, just because an instinct is natural doesn't mean we should just let it run wild. Think of your life as moving along two distinct paths. Ambition, that natural desire to grow and expand, is your vertical vector. You're shooting upwards. But you also live in a society with other human beings, which requires a horizontal vector of harmony, service, and care. Toxic self-display happens when your vertical vector shoots up way too fast and completely ignores that horizontal vector. When your personal evolution lacks harmony with your environment, it harms others, breeds jealousy, and totally isolates you by turning your potential allies into enemies.
And the text points out something really counterintuitive here to combat this. It notes that as people truly achieve success and reach higher stages of development, they actually become more silent and modest, rather than louder and more boastful. When you're genuinely growing, you just don't need to shout about it. True success naturally merges that vertical growth with horizontal harmony, creating this quiet, undeniable confidence that uplifts the people around you instead of demanding they applaud you.
All right, Section 4, the 3 Fuku framework for lasting success.
So how do we actually do this? How do we maintain horizontal harmony and avoid falling into the trap of a toxic ego? Well, the text offers a really profound solution, starting with a concept called funpuku. This essentially translates to sharing your blessings, or sharing your cup when it overflows.
The idea is that if you find success, your immediate next move has to be distributing a portion of that joy to the people around you. By doing that, you strengthen your horizontal vector of harmony, ensuring your success becomes something that truly gives life to others.
Okay, the second piece of the puzzle is shokufuku, which means planting blessings. Instead of greedily consuming all your current wealth or status right here and right now, you have to humbly plant seeds for the future. This means taking a piece of your success and investing it into the next generation, into future projects, or into the long-term betterment of society. It's a powerful way to acknowledge that your current success is just a stepping stone, which keeps your ego entirely in check.
And the third and final pillar is sekifuku, the discipline of conserving your blessings. This is where we directly combat that toxic urge for self-display. Sekifuku strictly forbids the wasteful, flashy spending that comes from a bloated ego. It means being modest and frugal even when you can totally afford not to be. It's about valuing the blessings you've received so much that you refuse to let them just leak out through the cracks of vanity.
To really bring this concept down to earth, the author highlights a famous short story called Toshi Shun by Ryunosuke Akutagawa. It's about a guy who suddenly gets his hands on this massive amount of unearned wealth. Because he lacks sekufoku, because he immediately starts flaunting his riches by throwing lavish banquets, all these false friends flock to him. But the second the money runs out, everyone vanishes. His fortune slips right through his fingers because he used it solely to feed his bloated self-display, rather than conserving it or truly sharing it with purpose.
So when we look at this whole framework together, you can see how perfectly it balances out human nature. You have that vertical ambition that gets you the success in the first place, right? But then you apply funpuku to build your community, shokafuku to ensure sustainable growth, and sekafuku to protect yourself from the poison of your own ego. It's an absolute masterclass in transforming that loud, exhausting desire for attention into sustainable, quiet, and deeply impactful success.
As we wrap up this explainer today, I really want to challenge how you view your own ambition. We all have that inner drive to be seen and validated. It's natural. But knowing what we know now about that delicate balance between the vertical vector of growth and the horizontal vector of harmony, I want to leave you with this final thought. Instead of worrying about who's looking at you right now, or how loud you can broadcast your current achievements, what is the next blessing you are going to plant for the future?